Your Excellency, Sri Jagdeep Dhankar, Vice President of India, Honorable Sri Bhupender Yadav, Minister of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Dr. Vibha Dhawan, Mr. Nitin Desai, and Ms. Shailay Kidai. Ladies and gentlemen, standing on all other protocols previously observed, good evening. It's a matter of pride for me to join the Honorable Vice President of India and other dignitaries present here as we inaugurate this edition of the World Sustainable Development Summit, encouraging climate-inclusive policies at the global level and tackling the increasing threat to climate change has emerged as a priority for our leaders. In the spirit of fostering climate action, the governments of India and Guyana have been focusing on building a resilient and sustainable future. I'm glad to mention that at the beginning of this year, our relationship was further strengthened as India approved the signing of a 5-year Memorandum of Understanding to bolster cooperation in the hydrocarbon sector, covering areas such as sourcing of crude oil, cooperation in crude oil refining, and collaboration in the natural gas sector. My country's association with the Energy and Resources Institute goes back a long way, and our long-standing relationship has seen collaboration across sectors. So I take this opportunity as you observe the 50th anniversary of TERI to say congratulations to you on the first 50 years, and we look forward to working with you as you pursue the next 50 years of TERI. TERI has been engaged in grassroots level work with Guyana as a research institute that is pioneering in enabling energy transitions and renewable energy technology use. Senior government representatives from Guyana have been a part of the previous editions of the World Sustainable Development Summit. As the world grapples with a climate crisis, the theme of this year's summit, Leadership for Sustainable Development and Climate Action, presents a timely opportunity for stakeholders gathered here today to deliberate and lay the foundation for sustainable and climate-sensitive policies. Since the adoption of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, there have been some advancements in SDG 7. The number of people across the globe without electricity has almost halved, and from 1.1 billion in 2010 to 675 million in 2021. Moreover, the renewable energy share in energy consumption has increased from 16% in 2010 to 19.1% in 2020. Notably, renewable energy proliferation in developing countries significantly grew by almost 10% annually. While these achievements are certainly commendable, further action is required, particularly in the least developed countries. According to IEA's Net Zero by 2050 scenario, United States $30 billion will be required annually to achieve universal access to electricity by 2030. Otherwise, we will fall short of the target of ensuring universal access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy services. Despite the many challenges experienced globally, including lack of sustainable financing, supply chain challenges, fiscal deficits, high debt levels, inflationary pressures, and higher energy and material prices, national commitments must not waver. There is a narrow window to increase progress for universal energy access and lift over 600 million out of the worst levels of energy poverty. Energy access policies and programs must expand socioeconomic benefits to bridge the gap, especially for vulnerable groups and communities. The uptake of renewable energy in response to oil market volatility and the climate crisis is anticipated to considerably improve, with approximately 25% of global energy consumption coming from renewables by 2030. An enabling environment to substantially increase the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix will require targeted policy interventions, technology transfer, and adequate funding. Taking advantage of the synergy between energy access and the deployment of renewable energy for electricity, heating, and transportation needs presents an opportunity to rapidly accelerate the renewable energy share and stay on target of the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold. For the power sector alone, renewable energy would have to make up at least 3/5 of electricity generation. As the year 2030 approaches, there is a need for international cooperation and collaboration from the public and private sectors to address the complexities and uncertainties in climate financing, technical capacities, policies, and regulatory frameworks to drive the energy transition. Fundamentally, championing sustainable energy transitions will require a transformation of our energy systems to decouple economic growth from more polluting energy sources like heavy fuel oil and diesel and climate-resilient innovations. The dependence on fossil fuels, aging infrastructure, high energy costs, and climate change vulnerability in Caribbean countries are driving the need for sustainable energy transitions. The Caribbean community can tap into its indigenous sources, such as solar PV, wind, hydropower, geothermal, biomass, and ocean energy, and it is estimated to have a combined renewable energy potential of 10,750 megawatts. According to the IDB, opportunities in the Caribbean's sustainable energy market could yield 16 billion United States dollars in net economic benefits to CARICOM countries in the long term. To generate these benefits, CARICOM countries will need to invest an estimated 11 billion US dollars over the next 10 years. Given its geography and terrain, Guyana is susceptible to the adverse effects of climate change, including extreme weather conditions. The majority of Guyana's population resides in the coastal areas, and faces a high risk of flooding. Building climate resilience and generating knowledge and adaptation within the communities remain a priority area and will act as the key to addressing the growing climate challenges. Guyana, one of the newest oil-producing countries, also faces the unique paradox or opportunity to balance sustainable development, the needs of a developing country, and the demand for renewables worldwide. While the historical contribution of developing countries towards global emissions has been minuscule, securing climate finance for adaptation and access to technology transfer for decarbonization has proven to be a challenge. Nevertheless, Guyana is mindful of its international commitments as recognized in the Paris Agreement and is committed to maintaining its net carbon sink status. Moreover, by introducing policies such as REDD+ under our low carbon development strategy, Guyana has been able to control the deforestation rate, as almost 85% of our country remains covered by forests. Guyana is committed to building its infrastructural capacity and transitioning towards clean energy. We launched our updated Low Carbon Development Strategy 2030 in 2022, which also focuses on aligning our policies with global climate and biodiversity goals. Our LCDS reinstates our commitment towards an ambitious energy transition program, which has found support from both India and TERI. Guyana aims to incorporate a mix of clean and renewable energy, solar, hydro, wind, and natural gas energy resources to meet the country's energy needs over the next 5 years. It is envisioned that this plan will help add more than 500 megawatts of electricity capacity for residential and commercial users, contributing to a 50% reduction in electricity costs. Guyana's transformative energy initiatives include installation of a 300 megawatts natural gas to energy power plant, providing an important transition as the country develops its hydropower potential, commencing with the 165 megawatt Amelia Falls hydropower project that aims to generate cheaper and cleaner energy for all Guyanese and support the massive expansion of renewable energy in the national grid. The country's electric utility will also be adding 33 megawatts of utility-scale solar power to decarbonize the power sector further. Moreover, the distribution of 30,000 solar PV systems to off-grid hinterland and riverine households is nearly completed and will benefit close to 140,000 persons in over 240 communities at the end of this project. This initiative was made possible through a line of credit from the government of India, and for this, the people of Guyana are truly grateful. There are additional investments to advance access to renewable energy in hinterland communities, with Guyana currently implementing a number of small hydropower projects. Furthermore, the government has increased its investment in solar PV technology, including 2 utility-scale solar PV farms, 31 solar mini-grids, and rooftop solar PV systems at over 350 public buildings. We are focusing on significant infrastructure investments, developing our energy sector, bolstering healthcare services, and diversifying our agriculture sector. Guyana also recognizes the vulnerability of children to extreme weather events and their impact on children's health and access to safe water, nutrition, and infrastructure. To ensure that our children and youth inherit a sustainable future, we recently signed UNICEF's Declaration of Children, Youth, and Climate Action. As the theme of the summit also suggests, leadership at the global, national, and subnational levels will be crucial in taking timely and decisive steps towards meeting sustainable development goals. As we move closer towards the 2030 UN Sustainable Development Goals target, the forced global stocktake presents a concerning picture as we witness countries sliding back on some major sustainable development goals. As representatives from across the world, political and business leaders, heads of intergovernmental organizations, and youth converge at WSDS, let us vow to deliberate upon and forge partnerships that are critical to achieving the Paris Agreement goals, and more importantly, needed to keep the planet and its people healthy. I'm happy that we have been able to continue these discussions at the highest level and wish for continued and successful dialogue along the lines of a sustainable future for all for the remainder of 2024 World Sustainable Development Summit. Thank you.